Hi, this is Esther with Discover Your Origins. This is a Research with Me video, and we are working on Essary family descendants again. In this video, we're going to focus on Josephine Essary. She is the sister to James Forrest Essary, who we focused on in the previous video. If you want to catch up on the Essary family descendants, I have a link to the Essary family descendants playlist. So let's start on Josephine Essary. Now you can see on the FamilySearch family tree, she's got 28 sources. So she's had a lot of work done on the FamilySearch family tree. So we're going to use Ancestry to just double check the work. You can see I haven't done very much. I need to do a little bit of cleanup work, add her family and all of that. I only have 10 record hints. So the 28 sources we might review later. Let's just scroll down and see what is on the FamilySearch family tree here. And let's make the screen bigger. All right, so we have Josephine Essary here with her husband, Charles Henry Kuykendall. I hope I'm saying that right. And 12 children, married about 1906. We'll want to double check the census records to see if we can verify that marriage date. That's probably right, but we'll look anyway. And we'll also check the census to see if there's any missing children. There looks like there's a daughter here that was born in 1920 with no name. So we'll double check that. And we've got quite a large family here. So we've got Josephine connected to her parents. You can see here Samuel Jackson and Sarah Meigs. And here's James Forrest that we looked at in the previous video. All right, so let's go work on my ancestry tree and we'll go through the record hints here. I imagine we're probably not going to find anything that's too different over here, but we'll double check it. You can see here I need to fix her name spelling. We don't have her middle initial, so we've got a little bit of cleanup work to do. We do have her listed in the 1900 census, so she would be about 12 years old. So let's just look. We'll just look at the indexed information. Yeah, so she's 11 here, and you can see the index had it spelled Essary, which is fine. That may be how it looks. We'd have to look again, but I'm going to standardize the name to Essary because that's the majority of the family's spelling. So we'll just do that, and then we'll jump into the record hints. I also like to clean up and standardize the locations in Ancestry. I would say the standardization of locations in Ancestry is not as good as FamilySearch. FamilySearch is a little more consistent, and Ancestry allows you to kind of do your own thing if you want. So, but I do like to standardize it as best I can in Ancestry too. All right, let's jump into the record hints. So I'm going to just go ahead and make this screen bigger. Okay, I'm going to scan through these first on camera and then I'll attach them and we'll just go from there. So we've got an image of the headstone. You can decide to add that as the profile image if you want. It does look like there is probably a image of her, at least on FamilySearch family tree. So we may run across that as we go through. So I'm going to go ahead and scan through. Let's look and see what we've got. We've got the census, and you will notice that her name is Josephine here, but it looks like she might have gone by Jody as probably a nickname. So let's just look. Okay, anytime I see the GNet Community Tree Index as a record hint, I ignore those. And if you ignore them, that doesn't mean they go away forever. They'll end up in your ignore tab and you can go back and look at them later. Let's keep going. Okay, we got a census. Here's 1910 census. We'll want to look at that a little closer in a minute. 1920. Here's a death record index. 1950. Draft card for her husband. And we've got a story, J.J. Kuykendall from 1901. Not sure if that would be her or not, so I may look at that off camera and then either ignore it or accept it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and attach these records and then we will come back. Okay, I'm back. The newspaper article was for somebody else, not Josephine, and so I chose to ignore that record hint. We've got her children, and one thing I noticed was this child or daughter, Eunice, she was listed as a baby in the 1910 census, I believe, and then later was given a name. And so we need to look at the FamilySearch family tree to see if there's maybe a possible duplicate there. It's possible there is a missing child too, so we got to look at the census records a little bit closer. So the 1900 census, she is living as a daughter with her parents. So let's take a closer look at the 1910 census. This should give us some marriage information and also how many children were born at that time and how many were missing. She wouldn't have had very many quite yet. Okay, let's look. Here we go. Right, so she's listed as Josie, which would be short for Josephine. We've got a son, Stancil, and then here's that baby daughter, 0 of 12. So she was just born when the census enumerator came around. Says they had been married for 4 years, their first marriage. You will notice this in the 1910 census that there was a notation by the enumerators to indicate a first marriage. You can't always go by that. You need it is helpful to have another record, marriage record or something, because sometimes that is wrong, but most of the time you can follow that. So 4 years married, 2 children born, 2 living. So they're all born in Alabama. Let's see what they're doing here. Farmhand. So he wasn't even a farmer. He on his own farm. He was working on somebody else's farm because it says here laborer, farmhand. So they were probably just barely surviving. They wouldn't have made very much money. So, all right. So that's the first part of their story. And that does seem to match up with what we know so far. So let's look at the 1920. All right. So 1920, we've got Charlie. Here's Jody or Josie. It's hard to see here because the letters overlap. Stancil, here's Eunice. That's that daughter that was born when that enumerator came around. Viola, Jasper, and Stanley. Stanley was 4 months old. Is that 2 and 10 months? That's hard to read as well. So they were renting, so that makes sense. And let's see what occupation they were doing. Farmer, general farm on their own account. So by 1920, they were farming on their own. So they did have a slightly improved economic outlook at that point, but they are renting. So they're getting ready here to go into the Depression. And I think I don't have the 1930 census. I don't. So I am missing that. We can go and look for it. Let's just jump over to Charlie Kuykendall and see if there's a 1930 census listed for him as a record hand before we jump any further. Let's see. Lots of newspapers. No 1930 census. Interesting. So we'll have to go over and look at the family on FamilySearch Family Tree to see if there's a 1930 census there. Let's go and look at the 1940. We'll view the image. All right. Okay, so Josephine is noted as Jody, and then the oldest children are no longer in the home. We've got Ada Lee, CH, who is, I think, Charlie Jr., Anna Faye, Iveline, and Ludell. Ludell's 5. All right. And we will slide this over here. They're farming on their own account. So the least we could say is that they did get through the Depression. So they did survive. Now, on the 1940 census, if you notice an X next to the name, that means that is the person who reported the information. And in this case, it was Jody. So she was the one that reported to the enumerator. Okay, let's go look at the 1950 census to get a better feel for the family. just to see what's going on. All right. Well, looks like not very many of them are at home anymore. Okay, Charlie is 65 at this point, and they have one daughter at home, Ludell. That would be their youngest. All right, let's look. Okay, he is a utility worker at the textile mill, so no longer working on the farm. He is a utility worker in 1950, and none of the family members landed on this extra line where there would be some additional questions for them. So that's all we know about them in the 1950. All right. So we learned that they were married about 1906, and so far all of the kids there, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 children. So now let's go over and look at the FamilySearch family tree and see what we've got here. We've got 12 children. Okay, here's Eunice, Viola, Jasper, Kuykendall. I'm wondering what the sources are on that. Mamie Magdalene. We don't have her. See, she was born in 1922, died in 2007. She was not listed in 1940 or 50. So we'll need to look and see what the source is for Mamie. Here's Ada, Charlie Hanley Jr., Anna Faye, Eveline Ludell. Okay, so there are 2 extra children over here that we'll want to look at. And let's see if there is a 1930 census over here. There is not a 1930 census, so we are missing that for sure. We got a bunch of Alabama marriage records, and I would expect those would be for all of the children. And let's see, find a grave, Alabama deaths, some more marriage records. Okay, Jody. We got the Social Security records, which would be for her children again. All right. No 1930 census. Very odd. It could be that there's just an indexing error and it's not showing up in the index, so we might do a little bit of looking. Before we get too far though, let's look at this daughter here. There's no sources, no memories, and no comments or anything. So this one is a bit of a mystery. In this case, I would need to contact whoever submitted this on FamilySearch and say, where did this come from? 1964. There's no sources attached though. So for me, I'm probably not going to add this to my tree. I don't have any evidence of it, and so I'm going to leave it off. I'll leave it here on FamilySearch, but it's a little bit of a mystery. And then we have Mamie Magdalene. There's 9 sources, so let's go look at her and see what evidence there is to connect her to that family. Okay, they're in a marriage record. Okay, Mamie Magdalene Kuykendall, Charles Henry, and Jody Essary are listed as the parents. So that is the evidence that connects her to that family. So that is, at least there's something there that can help us. And there's a couple of marriage records. So, all right, Charles Forrest Cox. Okay. And oh, sometimes there are parent information in the Social Security Numadent file. Yep. Charlie Kuykendall and Jody Essary. And Essary and Essary sound very phonetically similar. And so if they were spelling phonetically, that would make sense. Okay. So, all right. She is a daughter of that couple, so I will add her to my ancestry tree. I will actually go through all of the marriage records, probably off camera later, that were listed under Jody here and see who all I need to add. So here's Mamie, and you can go through each of these and see, because sometimes they might be multiple marriages. So Ada Lee to Willard Smith. So yeah, that'll take a bit of time, but I will go through those later. So let's just go down here, and I'm going to highlight Mamie here, and let's move the screen over. Okay, and I'm going to add family, we'll add a daughter. And so I'll fast forward through this so you don't have to watch it. Okay, that adds that daughter to that tree. All right, the next thing is to look for Josephine and Charles in the 1930s census. And before that, I do that, I want to just look here. So in 1920, they're in Tuscaloosa, and then in 1940, they're in Fayette. And in the 1940 census, it asked, where were you 5 years ago? And they said Fayette. So sometime between 1920 and 1935, the family moved from Tuscaloosa County to Fayette County. So we'll want to look in the search results for either Tuscaloosa or Fayette. So I'm going to open up a new tab, and then we'll go to records, and we're going to select the 1930 census specifically. So come down here to find a collection, and we'll do United States 1930. Okay. Now, Kuykendall could be spelled a number of ways. So we'll just see, and let's see when he was born. That can help narrow results. 1885. All right. And we do want Alabama. All right, here we've got a Rover C. Kuykendall in Fayette. What is his parents' names? Let's just go look. Jasper Goodson and Missouri Jane. Okay. And let's see what his siblings. Oh, he came from a big family as well. 13 children in that family. All right. Let's just look here. Only one page of results. Okay, let's try some variations here. Let's look for a C. Kuykendall. Okay, let's look for Kuykendall, and let's try Fayette County. Okay, there are Kuykendalls in Alabama. Here's Fayette, Demecca, Kuykendall. Ella, James, Sophrona, Annie. Oh, goodness. Page 1 of 9. Usually the most relevant results would be at the top where I'm searching for all Kuykendalls. Let's try a J. We are striking out, and it seems so odd. Sometimes if we change some of this and use some wildcards, we might get some results. Because I have this feeling they're there, but the indexing might be a little weird. I'm going to keep looking, and then when I get to the other side of this, we'll come back and we'll look at Ancestry to see if we get better results. Okay, so I'm back here on Charles Kuykendall's page, and we struck out looking for the 1930 census. They've got to be there. Sometimes if you're searching for a particular person, you can't find them. Searching for the children in the census, it will give you better results. So I'm actually going to go to Mamie here and just look, see if she has 1930. She does not. and she should be in the 1930s census. So I'm going to try searching for Mamie in the 1930s census. And so I just clicked on Family Search on the right menu panel and just see, got marriage records. Now you can narrow down the record collections here by going to Collection, and then we'll select the 1930 census and then apply collection filter. Okay, we've got Maureen, Mary, Fred. This one's interesting. Let's look at this one. Eight. So she would be 8. It's in Tuscaloosa. She shouldn't be listed by herself. So let's look. Okay, here's Kuykendall. The head of the family is Marvin, and there's Mary. So not who we were looking for, but there is definitely something weird about the index. There's another Kuykendall, which makes me think we should probably try on Ancestry. In some cases, the index is a little bit different. So let's just do a quick more. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close that out, and we'll go back to Josephine's page here. All right, so we'll jump back over here to Ancestry and see if we can't search. And there's a few different ways we could do that here. We could go to search catalog or census and voter list from there, or we could go ahead and hit search and open in a new tab and then narrow down the census records. So let's see what this pulls up. There is someone with a tree here. I could go and look and see if they've got it. All right, so let's narrow down to census records. So we'll just hit these filters and see if we can't find what we're looking for. And we do want the 1930s. All right, so we filtered down to the 1930s census, and we can see we've got several Kuykendells. Now this is searching the entire country and not just Alabama. And it is possible they went somewhere, but okay, definitely we're missing them in the 1930s census. All right, I'm gonna go back to my profile here. Sometimes it's easier. We'll just close this out and go back to our profile and do that search again. And I'm going to look at that other person's tree and see if they have found it. So I don't know if I'll show that on camera, but if they do have it, then we'll give them credit for finding that. But I'm just going to look at it and then we'll be right back. All right, so I'm back, and that other tree did not have the 1930 census either. So it is going to take a little bit more digging to see what happened to the family during the Depression, 1930 census. And so I'm not sure. One thing that I could do is, as I'm going through each of her children, looking and searching for that 1930 census may bring it up. If the FamilySearch family tree doesn't have it and there's 28 sources attached, then pretty good chance that I'm not going to find it either. Now, they probably are there, but it may require a page-by-page search, which for my purposes, since I'm just looking for descendants, may not be a useful use of my time right now. But I am curious where they were. And so if this is your family and you know, that would be interesting to update that. Anyway, so in this video, we learned a little bit about this family. Josephine married Charlie Kuykendall about 1906. She had at least 11 children, maybe 12. The family farmed for most of their family life. In the 1950s, Charlie changed jobs and started working as a utility worker. Josephine died in 1964 in Walker County, Alabama, and they lived in 3 different counties then: Tuscaloosa, Fayette, and then Walker. And just like the other Essary family members, her siblings, they made their living mostly through farming, and probably just barely survived the depression as well. But anyway, that was a good exercise to look for those missing records, that even though a profile on FamilySearch Family Tree may look complete, there is still things that can be done to verify and check the information. And at the end of the day, once we have everything that we can find, we can write a biography or story about Josephine and Charles and their family. So that may be a project for a later time. I hope that was helpful. We'll see you next time.